Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what you've been through. You can make it if you believe. You've got the potentials living in you. You've got the power to succeed. You've got the power to achieve. You've got the power if you believe. Success power.
Welcome to Success Power. I have exciting personal stories to share, and it's mainly about how I improved the probability of success in my life. I started from the point of believing that success is accidental, that it's a function of luck, but then I was able to switch and to move on to the place where success became more predictable and more sustainable. Okay? Now, some of the things that I did, for example, was discovering the power in dreaming by engaging my imagination, going in there and seeing a new me and seeing new circumstances for my life. I did one of the things that would create massive shifts in levels in my life. I realized that when we were children, we all had dreams. It was so easy. Our imagination was flexible. We saw ourselves driving cars. We saw ourselves flying aircraft. We saw ourselves going to different places, meeting different people. But the older we grow, the more rigid our thinking becomes. And that is caused by experiences. We begin to create limitations for ourselves. We begin to have or to build up barriers in our mind. We begin to accept some things as being impossible or unrealistic. In other words, we lose our dreaming capacity. I discovered that dreaming is a principle. That whatever thoughts become dominant in your mind, they ultimately attract their material equivalent into your life. What I have done, therefore, is to leverage on my mind and my imagination to change my circumstances, to change my status, and to create spheres of influence for myself, locally, and then nationally, and then internationally, and now I think globally. What does it cost to dream? Nothing, except your pride or your fear. But in any case, you don't have to pay anything. But when you think about the fact that it is as you think that you become, that you can only transform your life by transforming your thinking, then you realize that this is very critical. It can be cheap to succeed. So, I'm a dreamer. I have dreams. And just when, I'm seeing one level of dreams turn into reality, I have new ones. I create new ones, or I capture them through prayer. But ultimately, they become the reality. Good. I began to increase my probabilities for success by planning. And it was because I read Glenn Bland's book, Success. And I saw the statistic there a research that was carried out on the graduating class of Yale University in 1948. And they found out that it was only 3% of the class that had clearly written down plans for their lives, what they would do after graduation. They had decided what they wanted to become. They wrote down their goals. They wrote down the possible obstacles that they could meet. They designed solutions for those obstacles. Only 3% of the class. Then there was another 10%. Yeah, they had clear ideas in their minds of what they wanted to do, but they had not written down any detailed plans. The other 87% were just hoping that something would turn out, things would work out fine. 25 years later, that was 1973, they contacted every single one of those who had been part of that graduating class. You know what they found out? They found out that the 3% that had detailed plans for their lives had achieved 50 to 100 times more success than the 10% that had ideas of what they wanted to do but didn't write them down. We're not talking of the 87% that didn't have clear goals. We're talking of the difference between those who sat down and wrote in details their plans for the future. I mean, I saw the principle there. I saw the cause. I saw the effect. I know I wanted the effect. I had to get the cause. Planning became a major part of my life. Planning a year before it begins, planning months ahead, planning a week, planning a day became a standard part of my life. And you know, goal setting is a major part of planning, or setting targets, okay? And then designing the steps that you will take to achieve your goal. Now, I do it as an individual. We do it in my family. Every organization that I lead, we do it. I have seen success, not only at an individual level, but also at an organizational level. And I'll tell you that it's not the result of exertion, of energy. The planning, you know, takes away the need for the exertion. The exertion is mental. That's where the planning is. If you don't win on paper, you don't have a very good chance of winning in real life. So, I have increased my probability for success through planning, because it's a principle. One other thing I've done to increase the probability of success in my life is skill acquisition. Skill acquisition. You know why? I discovered that money and promotion are rewards that you get in exchange for adding value. Or let me put it another way, for solving problems. When you're a problem solver, you're an asset. When you are someone who creates problems, you're a liability. No one pays you for creating problems. They pay you for solving problems. And mankind has diverse kinds of problems. But to be able to solve a problem well, you need skill. So, I am a committed learner. The things that I'm doing today are far removed from what I studied, you know, for a profession.